Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Deep Six Podcast. Coming to you from somewhere just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Well, actually, somewhere just outside of Orlando, Florida this week. I myself, Steven, am, of course, out of town once again, this time indefinitely. So, while you get me through the wonderful sound of this beautiful Sennheiser microphone, I am joined through the power of the internet by Mr. Matt Barnes. Matt, how are you?
I'm pretty sure I'm dying.
Yeah, you don't sound too great.
Other than that, I feel wonderful, but I'm pretty sure I'm half dead.
Why is that? What exactly is going on with you?
I've got something of a summer cold, Steven.
You know, it's kind of funny you say that because the last 2 days, I felt really run down, kind of had a slight sore throat and a little post-nasal drip going on, but I don't know if it's just been allergies or what it is, but I haven't been feeling too great myself, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure mine is the Grim Reaper.
You seem to be sick almost every other episode, so.
Well, my immune system's really weak. It's from, I don't know, years of hard living, as they say. There's not a lot of tread left on the tires.
Well, what is it the kids say? YOLO, you only live once?
That's my philosophy in general. I was YOLOing before there was a YOLO.
Well, at least that makes one of us. Anyway, not much of a guideline for today's show. We're just kind of going to wing this one, seeing as how the both of us don't feel super great, and we didn't have a lot of prep time for this episode, so where do you want to start?
Remember the other day that I brought up a topic to you that I thought was really interesting about Marvel Studios and kind of where they're going with things in terms of, I don't know if people have noticed that listen to us, that Marvel added kind of really silently, they added James Gunn as an executive producer on Infinity War. I'm just kind of really curious.
We're talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if you think, like I do, that he's a lot more involved in the charting of where they're going with their film universe than they're letting on that he is. They've said that he's charting kind of the course of the cosmic end of the universe, but I'm sort of getting the impression that he's a lot more involved overall than they're saying he is.
I think it's a matter of we know that the cosmic and the main universe are going to come together with Infinity War. And I think that since he was the one that, made the cosmic universe what it is, he's the only one to touch it so far, that he's being looked at as the overseer of the integrity of that universe and bringing it into, the main canon universe, I guess you could say. So I think he's just kind of there to oversee all of that and make sure it just all works together. Plus, he's also made.
But as I said to you, that the Russo brothers are kind of who made Captain America kind of the most vital part of the Marvel universe to this end. And they're not executive producers on the movie, and they're directing the biggest movie in the universe to date. And they're not executive producers on the movie. So, the guys you're trusting to course, the biggest movies in your universe aren't producing the movie. They're not listed as producers, at least.
But, I mean, you also have to look at James Gunn's role as basically the, I don't want to say the father of the Guardians, but, if it wasn't for James Gunn, the Guardians characters wouldn't be what they are. And for them to have such a pivotal role, or what we assume should be a pivotal role within Infinity War, it kind of just makes sense that he's not directing it, he's there as some sort of a voice creatively for the direction of those characters.
I mean, I don't know either way. I just think it's an interesting topic because, you've seen all the movies that Marvel has put out, and you don't really see them adding, too many of their directors, their creative types into the fold as executive levels. And with James Gunn, they've done that. I mean, they also added Jon Favreau as an executive producer, and Jon Favreau, made one good Iron Man movie, then he made a shit one, and then he disappeared. But he's still an executive producer on the movie, so I'm not really sure what that says either. But he, in a lot of ways, he's the father of the MCU because he's about the original Man movie. But in between, there's been a lot of Marvel movies, and a lot of them have been very successful and very well loved. But you don't see those guys getting a lot of credit that made those movies. But James Gunn is, Marvel's boy right now.
I think I don't know how to feel about the executive producer role, not just within the MCU, but within cinema as a whole anymore. I feel a lot of the times it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of just like a figurative title.
In a lot of cases, it can be a very tacked-on role with no real implication on the making of the film.
Yeah.
Now, in the case of James Gunn, I think he probably is involved to some extent.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't think he's going to be, tacked on as this executive producer and not have any role. But I also feel like it's more to just make that joining of the cosmic and the main universes go a little bit more smoothly.
I mean, we've seen this to the extent that, Marvel has trusted him with, he filmed all their Stan Lee cameos, when he was filming his Stan Lee cameo for, Guardians. Yeah. He filmed, the 5, whatever it was. But, Marvel trusts him to an extent that they do not trust other filmmakers within their universe. So I just thought it was an interesting topic. I don't know if there's necessarily anything there. I just think that Marvel has left signs out in, the ether that there may be more there.
I think it might also have something to do with the fact that James Gunn seems to be able to tap into these characters and bring them more mainstream than a lot of people can say that they can do.
That's possible, yeah.
I mean, like I said already, the Guardians, look at what he made them. He took them from E-list characters to, possibly the most popular characters going right now. So I think that says a lot. But it could also, like I said, or like you said with Favreau, it could just be like a figurehead position. I think that it really boils down though that they want him to have some creative control over those Guardians characters and the melding of those universes. But I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse saying that over and over again.
Yeah, essentially so.
But keeping with MCU talk, we did get that Black Panther trailer just recently, and I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it.
I wouldn't even really call it a trailer.
More of a teaser, but
it was a first look. I mean, it didn't really show anything. We can read into it a lot. It really didn't show anything. That design looks really cool. The costume design looks really cool. We got a lot more of Andy Serkis than I thought we would.
Yeah.
Martin Freeman, I don't think he's going to be very involved in the movie, but we got a lot more of him than I thought we would in the trailer. That's about all I got for it.
I was
the trailer being based around, Andy Serkis more than anybody else surprised me. It's the Black Panther movie, and it features a white man pretty prominently.
I mean, I agree with you. We didn't really get to see a whole lot, but what we did see, I feel like the visual presentation was very well done for what they showed. It looks like it will be a very visually pleasing movie, but as we know, most Marvel movies are. I did like the nod in the beginning there, where they pretty much said they couldn't find Wakanda. Like, nobody really knows its true place.
Right, and then Claw says, I'm the only person who survived.
Yeah. But they didn't reveal anything. It was nice to just see, Michael B. Jordan, to see what his character would look like and things of that nature. Speaking of Michael B. Jordan, it was really interesting. I saw a meme on Facebook the other day. It said, Marvel Studios giving... what the hell? Marvel Studios giving the fuck is Human Torch, former Human Torch actors, a second chance. So I thought that was pretty funny. And it's nice to see Michael B. Jordan get that MCU role, which I hope he knocks it out of the park, because I feel like he's a very underrated actor.
I guess so.
I mean, he hasn't really done much.
When the role is good, I think that he's good in it.
Yeah.
I don't think that when the role is bad, he does anything to elevate the role. I think he's just very fit to whatever the fit of the role is.
I mean, that's a good point. I don't know. I really liked him in Creed, and I didn't mind him in Fantastic Four, but we all know how we all feel about Fantastic Four.
I guess he's just very. He's very much linked to the material that he's given. I think if the material is very good, he is a quality enough actor to make the material shine. And I think that if the material is not very good, then he doesn't necessarily knock it out of the park, which isn't necessarily a reflection upon him. I just think that he's not on that level where he kills it when the material is not very good. He's just very solid when appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair assessment. But like I said, I'm just excited to see what he does with this MCU role.
Yeah, absolutely.
But aside from that, I don't think there's really much else to say to this teaser other than it got me excited for this movie.
I think once we see more, we actually know what the story is. We can probably make more judgment calls on it.
I will say it got me excited to see more, though. I was kind of iffy when they, announced this movie and going into it, just because Black Panther is one of those characters that could go a couple different ways. But I'm excited to see more based off this teaser.
Yeah, I think they're going to give it its just due. I think it's an important film to them that it does well. So I think they care enough to make it do well.
Yeah.
So I hope that it does.
What do we move on to next? We did just have E3 this past week.
More comic book shit.
We did just have E3 this past week. We could talk about some things that happened there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do want to talk about the Spider-Man game footage that they showed, because while I think both of us were thoroughly impressed with what we saw, I kind of got a different reading from a lot of other people on that.
I don't know why you would get a different reading off of anybody from that. I my general take on E3, I've already talked to you about it, is that I was highly impressed by Microsoft's showing at E3. I think Microsoft kind of came out, and this is contrary to a lot of what the quote unquote expert reviewers thought, that Microsoft was just very average. Like, what were you watching? I thought Microsoft came out, and most years they don't have a lot of really strong first party content. Microsoft came out this year, and they came out and for an hour and a half showed a lot of first party content. They debuted a new system, and it was a lot of high energy, and I thought it was really pleasing. And then everybody else just came out, and it was just very ho hum. I just wasn't really impressed by anything. Now we get to Sony, and Sony comes out, and they show a bunch of stuff that that's not very exciting. That's not very exciting. That's not very exciting. Oh my God, Dad of War. That looks really great. Dad of War and Son of War. It kind of reminded me of when Goldberg came out and he brought his son out, and you're like, oh my God, Goldberg and Sunberg. And now you have it with Kratos and his kid. And then at the end of all this great stuff from Sony, it's yes, God of War coming 2018. And that was the theme of Sony's conference for me. It was everything is really great, but but it's not till 2018.
I can't disagree with you on that. I felt like a lot of the highly anticipated developers kind of fell flat this year. Bethesda didn't really impress me much.
I depends on what your takeaway is with VR. I mean,
That's very true.
Kind of with VR, and if you're into Fallout, you get Fallout VR, and you're going to get Skyrim VR, and Skyrim on the Switch is going to be big for people who own a Switch, and I think that's the big hook for Bethesda this year is going to be all kind of what they're doing with stuff that they already have out, more or less.
Yeah, I mean that's what it seemed like. Their presentation was lackluster to me as well. They didn't seem
it was
to
different,
really.
Bethesda Land.
Yeah, I mean it was different, that's for sure. But it didn't seem to like get me excited about anything. So, but then again, Bethesda games aren't really my particular, gaming niche. So,
I mean, I love Fallout. I love Skyrim. I'm a big fan of those type of games. I was really hoping that they would come with something brand new, and they didn't do that. Yeah, that was my biggest disappointment. If I remember correctly, Bethesda had one thing I was really, really excited about. It'll come to me. We can keep talking, but it'll come to me. But Bethesda had one thing I was really excited about.
I want to go back to the VR for a second. They did announce they announced Doom VR, Fallout VR, and was it Skyrim VR too?
Yes.
So I mean, those right there, those are impressive. I'll give them that.
It was Wolfenstein 2. That's
Yeah.
what Bethesda released at the very end of their conference. Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. So that's something that Bethesda's putting out that I'm going to be like totally into. The Wolfenstein games are just great. So I think that Bethesda brought it. It's not the way that you would want.
Yeah.
That they were going to bring a new IP this year, and they didn't bring a new IP.
But I'm impressed with their attack at the VR, aspect of gaming. And I think having a full immersive virtual reality experience for a Fallout, for a Skyrim, is a big deal, and it's going to be probably a pretty good seller for them, I would assume.
It is if they redesign the game sort of to work for VR.
That's
and
true.
Adapted VR to work for it. If it's just a port of the game with VR added, then it's going to be shit.
That's very true.
But if they work the game to work with VR properly, then it could be very good.
But that Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah.
I like I already said, you and I were very impressed with it, but from what I saw online, a lot of people were kind of knocking it for seeming like a ripoff of the Arkham game series.
Well, let's get it out of the way. That why would that be a bad thing?
I don't.
If it was
Yeah, I don't.
because Arkham. People love that the Arkham games finally got us like a really, really good, high quality Batman video game, where you could, do things that were Batman, that felt like Batman. And until the Telltale Batman game, those were the best Batman games ever made. I really think the Telltale Batman game, obliterated it. But until then, these were the first games you could really be Batman. So what's wrong with, adapting that style so you can be Spider-Man?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I like I said, I was very impressed. I think it was the best looking Spider-Man game I've ever seen. But the argument that it was basically just a giant QuickTime event.
I don't think we can tell that from what we saw.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can either. I mean, there were QuickTime elements that you could clearly tell were there.
Clearly, but we don't know if what we saw was like a main story mission or like a very like a big set piece in the game. And beyond that, you're kind of floating around the city, like solving things and, street missions and stuff like that are common in Spider-Man games.
Yeah.
That's stuff that could be missing outside of a main story mission, but we didn't get to see that because the game isn't coming out till next year.
Yeah, like they didn't explain.
They don't have enough state to show that.
Yeah, they didn't explain the gameplay mechanics either. They didn't say what within that footage that we saw, which was gameplay footage, what what was, player choice, or what was, this is kind of what you're forced to push to do this.
I mean, the segment they showed us was very clearly on the rails.
Yeah. But
I don't dispute that at all, but I don't think that them showing us an on-the-rails segment, it was clearly very, very likely a main story mission, like a big story mission, because it involves the main villain of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been speculated for a while that Mr. Negative is the main villain of the game, and we see that in the footage. He's in that chase sequence. So, I think that's a very strong hint. That's a main story sequence of the game. I don't think we can make any judgment calls about an on-rail sequence where you have to make quick-time choices.
Yeah.
And we can't make any judgment calls if that's reflective of the entire game.
No, that's very true. I'm hoping to see more of the hand-to-hand combat mechanics, to know if that's more of a player choice, or if that's just, you hit this button and Spider-Man goes into this sequence of flip over the guy, punch him, shoot webs, that kind of a thing.
I think people are being led down that path because it's an Insomniac game. And
probably.
we've seen what has been done with like Uncharted and stuff like that. That those aren't open world games, and those sequences are on the rails, and there's nowhere else to go outside of the main missions. You're just kind of on the rails the whole time. So I get why they're jumping to those sequences, but I don't think Spider-Man works that way. And I think they're a good enough developer to know that. So I do not believe that's the direction they're going with that.
I will say one thing. The web swinging looked better than I've ever seen it done. It looked like, it's going to be one of those things where you have to actually pay attention to where you're anchoring your webs and, your positioning and that sort of thing. I like the fact that he was able to keep momentum. I like that there were also kind of quick-time events involved with that, but because that was an entire, like you said, it was basically an on-the-rails sequence. I don't know how much of that was just tied to the fact that it was that sequence, or if there are things that he'll be able to do, anytime you're web swinging. But that seemed very pleasing to me. And I liked the sense of urgency that the footage we saw had. It got me excited, and honestly, it got me more excited for the story that's going to come in that game than what's coming from the Homecoming footage that we've seen. I feel like I'm more excited for this game than I am for the movie. Just saying.
Of course, because I think that, for one, I think that, the negative thought process we all have about Homecoming at this point, that it's basically just Iron Man 4.
Yeah.
And it's dulled all of our senses towards Homecoming at this point, which is, whether that's fair or not, it just is what it is. It's, Marvel, that's where they've taken their marketing for the movie. They've basically featured Iron Man and everything, and it's kind of like I'm fucking sick of Iron Man at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man, but yeah, right. I'm just hoping that most of the Iron Man stuff is being shown in the trailers, and he's really not going to be that prominent within the film. But I don't know.
But I think that's having a negative impact on how the movie is being received in general.
Yeah.
People were cool signing up for a Spider-Man movie, but people do not want to see another Iron Man movie. Like, Spider-Man can sell itself. Like, there's a reason why Spider-Man sells more toys and assorted, fucking tchotchke shit the world around than any other superhero in the world. Like, it's Spider-Man. Spider-Man sells more shit because people want to see Spider-Man. You don't need another character to sell this movie.
No, that's true. I completely agree, and I think a lot of it, like we've already discussed in other conversations, has to do with the fact that they want to kind of build Spider-Man out that where when it comes time to play ball with Sony again, to hopefully get him to sign on for another film or, another film series, whatever.
Well, you did see this week that Tom Holland let it slip that he is signed for 3 movies already, correct?
Well, I mean, he signed for 3 movies within his contract, or he signed for 3 movies from Homecoming on?
Spider-Man trilogy.
So he signed for 3 solo movies.
That's what he said this week. That he said, "Oops, I guess I wasn't supposed to say that. Sorry, Marvel, but I'm signed for 3 movies."
Well, then...
He said 3 Spider-Man solo trilogy movies.
All right, then. So we've got that. But it'll be...
And that doesn't include anything he negotiates to be in, like, Avengers movies, I would assume.
Because I was going to say, they've already announced the sequel to Homecoming, and Civil War, I guess, would count as an appearance, so does that make 3? But if he clearly said 3 solo films, then...
He said that, like, 2 days ago in an interview.
And you would have to think, isn't he already signed on for Infinity War?
He's already been filming it. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's going to be interesting.
So by the time the third one comes out, he'll have been in like 6 or 7 Marvel movies at that point.
Yeah, which is quite a few, especially considering that we'll probably have the third movie within, by 2020.
More than likely, because Spider-Man's a property that they're excited about. They know it's gonna make money, and they want to pump these movies out like once every 2 years.
I think it's also an urgency of the fact that you're working with a young actor, and
yeah, of course.
So you need to keep that actor young within the role.
I mean, he talks about playing Spider-Man until he's 35, 40 years old. He wants to age with the character.
I want to see that so bad. Like, I really want to see that. I'd like to see an aged Spider-Man interpretation on film, just because anymore it feels like within the comics, originally Spider-Man, for the longest time was this young teenager with these teenage problems, socially awkward, bullied at school, got to worry about who to go on a date with, but anymore within the comics over the last, 10 years, even longer, Spider-Man's been an adult. Spider-Man's been married. Spider-Man, in some instances, has a kid. I kind of want to see that. I want to see the part where he can't get past the fact that, he can't deal with the fact that he has a family and that he's fighting, purse snatchers still. That kind of thing. So I want to see that conflict.
It's a very complicated world he lives in now where, gods are coming from the sky.
That's very true.
And, billionaires take him to go fight in Germany against capsicles.
But yeah, that comes out from the time we're recording right now. That comes out, what, 2 weeks from now? 3 weeks from now?
Yeah, it's we're recording on the 16th, so like 2 weeks.
So by the time we get to the next episode, it'll be just before. So look forward to that Homecoming review that we do, or that Iron Man 4 Homecoming review. But
Iron Man 4 never left.
But what else can we talk about? We still got about a half an hour to go here.
Well, we never really finalized our discussion about the game. It just kind of morphed into a talk.
That's true.
So I don't know. Again, with the game, and again, if you haven't seen the gameplay footage, I would recommend you go take a look at it.
It's a solid 9 minutes of footage.
There's a teaser for Miles Morales at the very, very end of the footage too, which I thought was, a nice, another little cock tease they decided to throw at the end, where they're like, "Hey, Miles Morales is here too. Like, tickle my balls."
Well, I think because Sony's
I think that was a hint
developing
towards the fact that I think that was a hint, and yes, you're right. It's because Sony's developing it.
Yeah. And they want to push their Miles Morales movie.
It's a hint towards the fact that this is an older Spider-Man game too. I think Peter Parker's older in this story. I don't think he's a college-age kid.
Good.
I think this might be a hint towards the fact that, there might be, they make this a series of games. I think they might shift it towards Miles Morales being the hero of the game.
I'd be all for that.
But I think they're very consciously trying to incorporate another character by hinting towards it during their gameplay footage at E3.
Especially considering this is the first we've seen of the game, outside of a 20-second clip teasing, upcoming PS4 exclusives. as far as I understand, this game has been in development for some time, and it's still got some time to go because, like you said, it's not coming out for at least it could be a full year. I mean, they didn't say when.
This game has been in development since before Marvel announced its new gaming project, which I believe Eidos is doing their other games, right? So
yeah,
and that's to be their whole game universe is going to be with Eidos, and there's this separate Spider-Man game that's being done by Sony. So I think Sony might be consciously shifting towards Miles Morales because Marvel's doing this whole other gaming universe with another company.
Yeah. But this game still has a ways to go because it could be a whole year, even longer before we see this. It could be fourth quarter 2018, for a holiday ship, which I could really see happening.
And Marvel and DC, I'll say this for both companies. The one thing they really do get right for the most part is their gaming stuff. Both companies do their gaming really well. They put out really good games. They make good choices, and Marvel's been out of it for a long time since like the Ultimate Alliance games. They haven't really put anything out. They're really starting to focus on it again. I think they didn't intend for this Spider-Man thing to kind of be like a one-off, but I think it might end up being kind of like a one-off thing with like maybe an option where Sony can continue it, but then they announced this other partnership with Eidos to do a whole other gaming universe type deal. Marvel says that there's no property off limits for the gaming universe. They're just going to do whatever property they want to do with it. So I think they're really trying to focus again on games and make really cool, fun properties in gaming. So I'm really excited for it. I'm excited for the Spider-Man game too. I don't really care what people really say about it. It looks fun. If it plays like Arkham, that to me is a positive.
Yeah, I agree. I was just about to say I've not played an Arkham game all the way through, but what I have played of an Arkham game is probably some of the most enjoyable Batman gameplay that I've ever embarked upon. So like you said, if it is like Arkham, I don't see that being negative at all. But yeah, outside of Spider-Man though, and what we've already talked about from E3, the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite stuff that they showed kind of left me indifferent, feeling rather indifferent because I was heavily anticipating this game, and then they released the demo, the story demo, and the fighting mechanics just feel really clunky for some reason, and the story
This wasn't really news at E3 either. They kind of released it ahead of time that they weren't including some of their classic core characters from the Marvel side in the game.
Yeah.
And they announced that they were changing some of the fighting mechanics ahead of time. So I kind of expected this to kind of land with like a fart in church. It didn't seem like it was going to go over really well, and it hasn't.
It's kind of upsetting too because Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is probably one of my favorite fighting games, and I picked up this demo that they put out for the story mode, and it just felt like I don't know, it just felt off to me. It just felt really off. And it feels like some of the character representations are kind of off, and even some of the character models look really strange. And for this to be a game that comes out next month is it doesn't look too promising. I'll say.
I don't know.
Much.
I'm personally not that interested in the game. I mean, I stood about that anyway. I don't really care. I'm an Injustice guy. I stick with my decent fighting games. I think it's a bummer for people that really like the games, though. Like, they're never going to get a Marvel fighting game that's as good as like what Injustice is, and they're never going to get a Marvel vs. Capcom that's as good as Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
So I mean, that was what that was. They did show a Dragon Ball Z Fighter 2, which I was kind of impressed with, just because. Well, just recently, I've only kind of jumped on the Dragon Ball train with Dragon Ball Super. For some reason, that jumped out at me, and I felt like watching it. And it's something that I've really kind of been involved with over the last couple months that it's been airing on Adult Swim, Toonami. But they released footage of this Dragon Ball Fighter game, and typically what we've seen from Dragon Ball games before is they're kind of like 3D cel-shaded bullshit. They never really capture that real feel of the anime, but I don't know what they're doing with this. If it's 2D animation done to the gameplay or whatever it is, but it looks and feels like the anime, which I think is amazing. It looks amazing. The gameplay looks really good, and I'm really excited for it. Do you care at all about Dragon Ball?
I thought it looked really, really cool. It's not for me, but I thought it looked really good, and I think a lot of people are going to be really into it.
So you understand what I mean by it's not that same 3D cel-shaded bullshit again.
No, it looked really good.
Dragon Ball game, which is it's weird when you take a 2D property and put it into a 3D style. And I think that's where the Dragon Ball games up till this one have fallen flat, just because they always just feel really weird. But yeah, I'm really excited to see more from that and eventually play that. I don't know what else. There was one other thing that stood out to me, and I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, you wanted to. Oh, you mean gaming wise?
Yeah, gaming wise.
For me, the biggest thing the whole week of E3 was Anthem. I'm super psyched for Anthem. New project by BioWare. I'm super, super psyched about it. Seems like kind of like partly like an MMO, like in the vein of like Destiny, but done right by like a studio that actually knows how to make games the right way. You know, wherever you fall on the line of like Mass Effect Andromeda. Okay, I get it. It looks like a mix of like what Destiny should be with like the gaming mechanics that Mass Effect Andromeda got right. And I really can't wait to play that. But again, coming 2018.
Yep, that seems like a major crutch from this year's E3 is that they're announcing things that aren't coming until the end of the year or next year. And
E3 used to be a show where gaming companies would show what they had coming out the rest of the year.
Yep.
And it's turned into like see what we got coming next year.
Well, that's what they did with the Microsoft reveals. It was all stuff that was, announced before the end of the year. And I think Bethesda also said that a lot of their VR content was coming before the end of the year as well.
They did. Almost everything. I think everything Bethesda talked about is coming before the end of the year. Last year, Ubisoft's presentation, everything they announced came out before the end of the year, except for South Park. And I think everything that Ubisoft announced this year is coming out before the end of the year, including South Park.
Well, I mean, that's how you do E3 right, is you announce content that people are going to want to play tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely. You get people excited about what's coming, and then next year you announce more things that people are going to be excited about that's coming, and then you continually keep doing it that way.
Yeah.
Watch because they want to see previews for what's coming.
Yeah. One thing, that trailer that I was confused on the name of, I just found it here. It's called The Last Night, and it's going to be on Xbox, and it's...
oh, yeah, that's what we talked about, yeah.
Just the visual presentation of this has me wanting to play it, because the characters are all 8-bit characters, but they're in this 3D world that looks fucking amazing.
Yeah, it reminded me of like an 8-bit like Blade Runner.
So I'm really intrigued to see what that's about. But aside from that, I don't think there's much else to touch on with the E3 talk. I mean, Nintendo put out a lot of interesting content, or is going to be putting out a lot of interesting content, but...
No, I liked Nintendo's too. I mean, there's things I want to play. I don't have a Switch, so I have nothing to look forward to there. I do have a DS, so I can play anything that's coming out on DS, but nothing to write home about from Nintendo. Just a lot of stuff that looks really cool, but I can't play.
I mean, they are returning Metroid, and they are putting a redesigned Pokemon game on the Switch, but...
Don't just skirt by. They're putting out a 2D Metroid.
I didn't see anything of it. I just heard Metroid was coming back, so
They're putting out a 2D Metroid game.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
I need
very
to go.
excited for it.
Yeah, I need to go look up some more about that personally. But yeah, let's close out the E3 discussion. What else can we talk about to close out this episode?
I know you wanted to talk about some WWE.
Yeah, the women's tournament. They announced 4 names. 4 names?
4. Yeah. 4.
Who? Oh, God, I don't have the list in front of me. I'm trying to pull it up real quick. So, I think 3 of them
I have a list.
are NXT talent that hasn't actually debuted yet, or 2 of them are at least.
We've got Toni Storm, international standout. I believe she's the Progress Women's Champion right now. Lacey Evans, who's in NXT. Sarah Logan
amazing
from NXT. And Princessa Sugahit. I believe she was in CMLL and AAA in Mexico.
All right. So yeah.
So they're going super international with the early ones. That's it so far.
But it's interesting to see that two NXT talents are actually involved within this tournament. We were speculating whether or not this was going to be a way to
we talked about this
debut
before.
some of these
We
talents,
assumed that put a lot of NXT talents in it.
yeah. I don't know. I'm excited to see Lacey Evans. I think she's going to be a big-time star within NXT and the WWE just because her character is so... she's so into her character. It's ridiculous. Just seeing some of the stuff she's done on the NXT house shows and...
I don't know. I don't. She doesn't really do anything for me, but I see that she's like super over, and she's into her character. She's over with the right people, I guess.
Yeah.
And she's into her character, and that should be enough. I don't really see anything there, but that doesn't mean anything.
But I mean, none of these names don't really stand out to me. Otherwise, they're not names that I'm really familiar with.
First 4 names.
No, but you would think that they would announce, someone a little bit more recognizable within the first 4 names.
First 4 names of a 32-women tournament.
Well, that's true. There are 32 to come. There's 32 names, so I'm just waiting for
28 more coming. They're the first 4, so I don't know if we can really read too far into that.
I'm waiting for them to announce Candice LeRae, because if Candice LeRae is not involved.
Sarah Logan was Crazy Mary Dobson, right?
I believe so. Yes,
that's a pretty big name.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong with that. I don't know. I was just kind of expecting a little more oomph from the first couple names to come out, but
I mean, I would think it's almost obvious because they've used Candice now that they're going to use her for the tournament. I think that they've broken that seal, so now they're very likely to use her again.
I mean, yeah, that's probably true. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see where they pull the rest of these names from. If it's going to be more indie talent or if it's going to be heavily international. But
well, I think that's what their point was in announcing these names, that they wanted to make it international. Going for a Mexican talent, that's good. I don't really know what else to say there. Yeah, I like that they're going international with it. I think that, that was one of the keys of doing the Cruiserweight Classic last year, is that they went international and they got people from all over the world. Some people that we hadn't heard of, which is good.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard from them since. So,
I mean, if there's anything the WWE is really good at, it's scouting talent. That's, that goes without saying. So I don't expect this tournament to be lacking talent in any way, shape, or form. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else? Is there anything else we can talk about?
Money in the Bank is this weekend.
Yeah, but this show goes up the same day as that pay-per-view.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can still talk about it.
I mean, we can. Hopefully, if you're listening to the show, you're listening to it before Money in the Bank. But, I don't know. I'm not really too excited about the pay-per-view myself.
You don't want to see your boy Baron Corbin win?
Kiss my fucking ass. I'm not eating no damn shoe. Not happening.
Dude, you're going to be eating your shoe before the end of the year.
It's not happening. Baron Corbin does not win that match. One thing I will say is, though, I'm sure you saw the rumors today that Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis will be debuting at Money in the Bank.
That's just a rumor that it would be at Money in the Bank or SmackDown next week.
Well, there was a little slip-up on Twitter with the WWE saying 6 women would be competing within the women's Money in the Bank match, which was quickly taken down. So
that could mean anything.
That could mean anything. You're very right. Nikki Bella returning. That's probably the most likely.
That's more likely.
That's probably most likely now that I mention it. I don't know. I'm not super excited for this pay-per-view. And the men's ladder match is going to be a good match. Don't get me wrong, but nobody I want to win is going to win.
I would lean that direction. I mean, I don't hate Corbin, so I'm okay with it going that direction, which is probably where it's going. That doesn't bother me. I'm curious about how the women's Money in the Bank is going to go off. I don't know what kind of risks they're going to let the women take. I'm very curious about that. I don't know. I think that the women that are in the match are going to push themselves to make it kind of the car crash style that the men's that they do, and I don't think that that's the image WWE wants to put out there.
It's either going to be really good or really bad. It's not going to be in the middle at all.
I do think we're going to see Carmella win it, though.
I don't know that I necessarily hate that, but it's not my first choice.
I think that's the highly probable outcome of the match is that Carmella wins it. Just for the imagery of Ellsworth carrying the briefcase around for a couple months. That, and I think they see that as a timeline where they can kind of stall putting her in any kind of major storyline and let her, maybe get better as a worker before they have to do anything with her.
I mean, that's possible.
And maybe they can use the briefcase as a way to generate some sort of reaction for her because she still gets no reactions even, a year after coming up.
Has it really been that long?
I mean, we're going into a year post brand split again.
Oh, wow. I realize it's been that long.
I'm curious about how much of a train wreck Lana is going to be in the ring. I think it could be really, really bad.
Well, I mean, what we've seen of her in the ring, not much, but what we saw from her in that WrestleMania match, I was thoroughly impressed with that match, or at least her showing in that match. But I don't know. I think it's probably gonna be a train wreck with her in there with Naomi.
I guess my point was that I think there's enough here, curiosity-wise, to make me want to watch the show, even if it's not necessarily going to be good. There's enough there, curiosity-wise, to make me want to watch.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. I'll wind up watching it because, what the fuck else am I going to do on a Sunday night?
I mean, I still think Jinder goes over again, too, even though I think that, they kind of stalled that through, the fact that working against Orton's just kind of it's a trap door for a guy like Jinder who's trying to get over. And his promo work hasn't been very good since he won the title. And, working against Orton again is just a trap door. It's just hard to work against Orton because there's not a lot of fan investment on the other side either, so it's hard to get a reaction. I think Jinder's going to retain. I see Carmella winning. I see Naomi retaining. Even though I could see that going the other direction. I could see Vince McMahon being like, okay, well, we gave you the Divas Revolution or the Women's Revolution thing, so, here...
Now we're going to take it back.
No, I could just see him being like, kind of like what they were doing with Eva Marie before she got high.
Yeah.
And basically lost her out of the WWE. He's going to be like, here's, a super hot girl that can't really work, but she dances, and she's really good looking. So she's going to be the champion, pal. And everyone's going to chase her. I could see it going that direction.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. That's very possible.
I honestly don't know that I care because I don't think Naomi's that good. I don't really agree with the people who think she is. Usos, I don't see losing to the New Day. New Day are fresh, coming back, but I just don't see any reason to have the Usos lose. They're interesting.
I see that building to more of a SummerSlam feud, too.
Well, it's an interesting, fresh matchup right now because they haven't seen each other since the brand split.
Yeah.
So you can drag a couple matches out of it.
Yep. And then you see Baron Corbin taking home the briefcase.
That's all just announced for the show. They only announced 5 matches ahead of time.
Yeah, that's I don't know. Hopefully this isn't one of those shows that runs short. But I can see that happening.
I don't know. I think they'll give a good amount of time to the men's ladder match. I think that's going to main event the show. I think they'll give that a good amount of time.
Yeah, I can see women's ladder match, then WWE Championship match, then the men's ladder match.
I think that's going to main event, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who I see really walking out with that men's briefcase.
It's going to be Corbin. The sooner you accept it, the better it's going to be for you.
I'll never accept it, even after it happens. Just saying.
Oh, better get used for your flossing with shoelaces.
No, it's not happening. I don't know. Like I said, though, I'll wind up watching the show. Hopefully it's good. Not expecting it to be.
Yeah, that's pretty much the level of apathy where we're at right now.
Yeah. So, I don't know. What else can we talk about real quick? We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of this podcast.
Yeah, what a long, strange journey it's been.
It's been a very long and a very strange journey. But yeah, hopefully we've got something big to happen for that 1-year anniversary episode. Right now we've got nothing, but hopefully we'll have something. Also, I will be personally co-hosting with Art Miles and Greg Moan their live podcast that airs tomorrow, so you won't even hear this until it's over. But you can probably catch the replay of that through the Gods and Monsters YouTube channel for their 2-year anniversary. And if that's available at the time we post this episode, I'll be sure to link that, or you can keep up with us through social media to find that. You've been doing a few guest spots on a certain podcast, haven't you, Matt?
Yeah, I've been basketball corresponding with the Balls in Our Court podcast with Cortez Paul and Kevin Carter, friends of the show. And,
air quotes, friends of the show.
Anthony of Hardcourt Nation has been on the show as well. And just spitting game about some hoops. Steve, NBA Finals were the last 2 weeks or so. And just been giving my opinion on the NBA action.
We'll link the Balls in Our Court in the show notes for this episode. You can also find them through our website on the Friends page, which I think...
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think...
Toss them above,
I think that's under... I think that's under one of the bars, the social bar on top of the website. I don't know. It's been a while since I've used the website. But yeah, you can find a link to the Balls in Our Court on our website. You can find a link to Gods and Monsters on our website. You'll also find it in the show notes for this, just because we're that good to you. We're not going to make you go look for it. But yeah, is there anything else exciting coming up or worth talking about?
I don't really think so. I just think, things are, we're almost a year in, and, within a couple of weeks, it'll be a year, and then, things just start rolling into the next year, and that's how you grow, just one step at a time.
Hopefully we can pass that 30 listener threshold in the second year.
Let's not try to be negative,
But if you don't knock yourself, you get too caught up in it. But yeah, look out for some exciting things to come within,
I
the second
certainly
year.
appreciate our loyal fan base.
Yeah, if you listen to the show every other week, you're amazing, and we thank you for that.
And certainly the people that we have that listen every other week are very loyal, because I know that you're listening every other week, which is good. It's the same people every other week.
And
if we can only translate those people into telling, how if you have a bad customer service experience, you're like, I'm going to go home, I'm going to post on Facebook and tell, my 300 fucking Facebook friends. Or,
I did that this week, actually.
Somebody has a bad experience. Somebody has a bad experience, they're going to tell 10 people, but if they have a good experience, they might tell one. Well, this podcast is your good experience. So
or
please,
your bad experience, depending on your view of things.
Well, I get that. If on some weeks over the last year, it has been our bad experience. But, we're moving forward in a positive light, and I think for our listeners, think of this as your positive experience. So don't tell none people. Tell some people.
And
start small. Tell 3.
And think about how much better the show will get once we have listener engagement. Once people are talking to us and we can drive a discussion between you, the listener, and us, the hosts of this show. Think of how good that will be.
I mean, you haven't heard me when I get particularly lit. Like, if you guys, call in, you're, telling me, if you suggest topics and then I give my opinion, you tell me how much you hate my opinion, I'll throw it right back. We can argue over the call-in line. But I need engagement to do that. Yeah.
But yeah, there's some interesting things coming from the Deep Six podcast here in our second year coming up. But yeah, I guess now's as good a time as any to sign off. So, Matt, why don't you remind the lovely, loyal listeners where they can find you on social media?
I am on Twitter at @DMattBarnes. You can find me on Instagram at @DMatthewBarnes.
And then, of course, you can find me, Twitter and Instagram, Steven_Spivak. And you can find everything for the Deep Six podcast, links to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, our YouTube, our Twitch, and any other crazy social media platform that we're on, all over on deep6podcast.com. While you're at it, if this is your first time listening to the show, click that subscribe button for the low price of free and get the latest and greatest Deep Six podcast content as soon as it's published. Who wouldn't want that?
It don't cost shit. It costs nothing.
It's fucking free. Getting that on a shirt, fucking free. The Deep Six podcast. But yeah, until next time, we'll see you later.
Goodbye.